Thursday, Tom Rowell. This is Steve Davis coming to you from AtomicErgo. Our normal host, Earl-Ray Neal, is off today, and I jumped at the opportunity to interview my friend Tom Rowell, and looks like we're getting ready to have some fun. How are you?
Man, I am great. It's a good day to be an ergonomist.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that.
Are you going to ask me to define it?
It's always a good day, it really is. So, but let me give a little background on Tom. Tom's he's he owns Rowell Consulting. It's an engineering firm, an ergonomics firm, and he's been actually working in the profession since 1989. He started out with IBM, and he has experience across multiple industries and has lots of engineering solutions. And the other thing about Tom Rowell is I have a huge dose of respect for him. When I get myself in a pinch, I'll call Tom or send Tom a message, or if I'll send Tom a customer, if it's what I can do, I'll be happy to, because I know that I can trust the guy. He's got the knowledge, and he's a good guy. So a little bit about his educational background. He's a member of that Aggie club of the ergonomist out there floating around. He got his bachelor's in industrial engineering from Texas A&M, and then he got his master's in industrial engineering with ergonomics and safety engineering. So there's a lot of Aggies out there floating around, and I'm fortunate enough to be friends with and professional colleagues.
You know quite a few of us.
I do know quite a few of you. Yeah, and I like all of you too. Yeah. So anyway, a little bit about some professional association certifications. Tom actually started in September. He was a member of the board for the BCPE. We're going to talk to him a little bit about that. That's super cool. And it's a huge honor. The Human Factors Ergonomics Society, every time that we have a conversation, he's always talking about his involvement in the Human Factors Ergonomics Society. He's actually a Six Sigma Green Belt, lean, and so. And then he's been a certified professional ergonomist since 1995. We were kind of kidding around before I hit the record button, and Tom's had a lot of good experience, a lot of experience across multiple industries, and it shows, in his professionalism. So anyway, I'm glad you're here. I'm honored and appreciate it. And this is a good way to end 2024 for our podcast.
Steve, I appreciate the invitation to be here, and I greatly appreciate the detailed intro.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're again, we were super happy to have you. We're honored, man. But I'm going to jump right into it. And we were, one of the jokes is uh, why would we pick a profession that you spend 90% of your time explaining to people what the word ergonomics means and what you do? And that's my question, Tom. How did you end up in the just making a decision to make ergonomics your profession?
Looking back and is looking back a long ways, three and a half decades to go back to where did I start? I have to say, I was heading into senior year of an industrial engineering degree, and I took on a summer project with a professor that I'd only had one class on, and it was in industrial and systems engineering. You get a couple of human factors classes, an ergo class, maybe if you're lucky. And it was one that really resonated with me. I wasn't too terribly interested in doing operations research and modeling, although that's all critical and important in our industries. But the project I took on was a summertime ergo project, and that was the bug that bit me. And I went from there to taking whatever other ergo courses I could get my hands on, and I just literally fell in love with it there in my, late, senior year. Got to be pretty close with the professor that taught it, and he said, "Hey, why don't you stick around for a master's degree?" And I had never thought for a moment about going on for advanced degrees, and he talked me into it and jumped right into additional projects outside of the university that, so talk about going from frying pan to fire. He had at the time, he was using his grad students for outside projects. So we were the data gatherers, and we came in as young, wet behind the ears, kids with wild, crazy solutions, and he'd sit us down and we would refine, and then we'd go out to the client and pitch them, and that's literally where I started. Um, I started with a company that made Tylenol, and I got to see how Tylenol was made and how it was handled in great big gigantic tubs, and how the people moved it around, how they got it from coding and painting and labeling and into 18-wheelers and then back out of 18-wheelers. Believe it or not, we would actually make Tylenol in Texas and then ship it to Puerto Rico to get it coated, bring it back to Texas to get it finished, and then put into the Tylenol bottles, which totally blew my mind. Is why would you not finish the process in one plant? But that's a whole nother story that would require another podcast to dive into. Anyway, that's where I got my start. And from there, we jumped to IBM, where I got to see chemical process, everything from making the raw green printed circuit boards all the way up to putting the components on it, and then building large servers that stood over 6 feet tall. And that's where I spent the next 17 years. 17 years. Started my career in a safety department at IBM. So, but why did I go down that path? Steve, I still to this day, 35 years later, I tell people, young people, when they ask, I get out of bed because I get to help people make their lives better. I mean, I literally do my job because if I do my job right, I improve the working condition for a worker somewhere. Now, if I do my job doubly right, not only am I improving the job for the worker, I'm improving the outcome for the enterprise as well. And that's the win-win scenario that I'm always looking for. How do we make it better for the employee and also make it better for the company? So, right, where else can you go and do that?
Oh, no. Yeah, I agree with you. And yeah, to understand what, you're not just talking about, you're not the anchor that the boat's dragging along. You got to improve efficiency. Man, that's one of the things we fight, well, you're going to slow our processes down, and I know your background and you understand, how to achieve both. So that's super cool. Are you part of that Jerry Congleton A&M
I
group?
am. You hit him on the head. He was the one that sent me out on that first summer project, and then put me onto his team. Sent me down to IBM. One of your good buddies, Keith White. He and I were on the IBM team at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, and
Shout out to Keith.
yeah, yeah, it's Jerry's a legend. He's one of those people that everybody can, that everybody's come across him, and so many, people like you're spreading Jerry's word, and he was a pioneer in this field, and that to be fortunate enough to be one of what they call Jerry's kids.
Jerry's kids.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, yeah, hats off to you. I met him a couple times, and he's
He's a good guy.
great dude. Yeah, absolutely. So
I'll
anyway,
say this about you tough to meet a man with a bigger heart. I mean, if you're one of his kids, or even now one of his descendants, because you take the likes of Mark Bendon, who is one of Jerry's, and he's now producing the next generation.
yeah, oh,
And
absolutely, yeah.
he
And it's, the people in our profession, you know, there's instant credibility when you
Yeah.
know, when you're part of the Jerry's, you know, to have been done that. So yeah, I already knew the answer to that, but you know, I wanted to mention that because it's a big deal in our business. You know, it's to be part of that, you know, Jerry Compton crowd. So
Yeah, he's
anyway,
got a big heart.
yeah, tell us a little bit if you would. And again, I didn't go through the, you know, the different various backgrounds and, you know, things that you, but tell us a little bit about Thomas Rowell Consulting.
Right? You're as simply as you can boil it down, you know, just an independent, you know, ergonomics consulting company. Uh, go anywhere and tackle any project, you know, big, small. Um, I've been blessed to have some really great colleagues to work with and great clients around the country. And you name it, Steve, whether it's been heavy manufacturing to little teeny tiny assembly to, you know, technology-based offices, lots of, I've spent my fair share of time doing AtomicErgo, but for the last, I'd say probably 7 or 8 years, the vast majority of my activity has been in the industrial ergo space, and I absolutely love it because it's and not to diminish AtomicErgo one bit. It's a critical and an important component, but the challenges that you get in the industrial ergo space are always different and always forcing you to think and solve and use that engineering brain to, you know, come up with more complex solution. And I just love it. I've always been the hands-on, give me a problem and, you know, give me a problem, give me a little bit of space and let me go solve it. And whether it means, you know, build a solution or find an implement, I, I already said it. That's what I love to do. I like to make things better. In
Yeah,
fact,
yeah, well, that was kind of that was kind of the answer I expected. That was pretty humble. You're actually known in the industry.
I don't know if you can, I don't know if you can read it. Is it focused? No, it's not focused. I stumbled upon this. Engineers make things. Industrial engineers make things better, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's what I love about ergonomics is, you know, we can go in and we can take something that, you know, maybe it's working, but let's make it better.
Mhm.
We,
Yeah.
we make it better for the operator, great. We make it better for the company, excellent.
Mhm.
You know, we're all in business to make money. Well, let's make a ton of money, but let's make it in a way that fits our operators so that they can go home at the end of the day with enough energy to cook their dinner and enjoy their family and do the things that they love. I don't want to send people home at the end of the day just completely wiped out and exhausted.
Yeah, and again, I mentioned that, you know, from I knew you were going to be humble about your answer. You know, you're known as as an excellent engineer, excellent solutions engineer, and you go back to the industrial engineering, but you know you've got a great reputation, and again, same thing with not office ergo or just doing ergonomic evaluations, but to get to the point where you can engineer a solution. And that's a big difference. And I know a lot of ergonomists, a lot of really good ergonomists, and you're well respected within this community. And so anyway, I'm appreciate that. What are the next thing challenges? What are the biggest challenges that you found in the profession? And not necessarily engineering, what is it that you found that
I think one of the big challenges in the world in the profession of ergonomics, and this has existed for as long as I've been in the profession. So then, by that definition, it's been even longer. Is we have done a really horrible job of letting the greater enterprise know what we do.
Mhm.
You know, we're still to this day defining to the public what is an ergonomist. We're
Mhm.
still defining to our own enterprises what is it that we do and what value do we bring?
Mhm.
And because of that, we're still fighting for our place at the table. You
Mhm.
know, you come in, let's say you're part of a safety department, right? I was part of a safety department for 17 years,
Mhm.
and I have been at so many design review tables wearing my safety hat. And you start talking about ergonomics, and the facilities team goes, forget about, you're not required. I need the life safety sign off. It's like, yeah, but you also need the ergonomics sign off. No, we don't. It's not required, you know? So I think for 35 years, we've done a pretty pitiful job of letting the public know, letting the stakeholders know why they need us, right?
Mhm.
You know, if I still to this day have to explain what I do and why I'm valuable, have we done a good enough job getting that message out,
Yeah.
right? And and frankly, that kind of brings, you mentioned that starting in September, I took a position on the board at BCPE. And for anybody who's listening to this, BCPE is the Board of Certification in Professional Ergonomics. It's the accrediting, it's not the accrediting body, it's the certifying body that certifies human factors in ergonomics professionals. And it's nationally, it's the gold standard.
Mhm.
And anybody that has any questions, please, get a hold of Steve. He can hook you up with me, and I would be absolutely thrilled to have a conversation with you about BCPE and what it takes to go out and get your CPE or your human factors professional certification.
Mhm.
And one of our conversations at the board level has been, how do we improve communications out to the public of, what is it that we do? Because frankly, Steve, the profession of ergonomics at the highest levels isn't really growing. We've been fairly flat for a very long time. And those of us that have been in the profession as long as I have really struggle with that. It's like, why is our profession not expanding? Why isn't, what in terms of our overall numbers, why are we flat? And what do we need to do to change that? You know, I'm not going to be around forever. Who's going to take my place? Who's going to come to the table every day with the kind of passion that I have for making improvements in the workplace if we're not doing a better job of getting that message out? There's a lot of there are kids out there that are doing a great job, but they're not replacing us at a fast enough rate, my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that there's all the numbers out there and all the people that have got their CPE but it's my understanding, and this is from the industrial hygienist, that there's less than 1,000 full-time CPEs working globally.
Yep.
And if you look at the sheer volume, are we teaching other engineers how to design in? It's like you said, we're all starting to get a little bit of gray hair or lose our hair. And I'm not a CP. My hat's off to you. That's a toughie. The other thing you said is, you said if you have somebody that's interested, that you and I have had a conversation recently about somebody that we want to work with, that we think's that's going to be a dynamo, and she's just right. So that conversation is something that we probably need to be having with her, and she's definitely open to it. So yeah, we
Oh,
need
yeah,
to, need to be doing a better job. Need to be doing
yeah. It's funny because you always have the conversation about what's your elevator pitch,
yeah.
and I think on that, if I stepped into the elevator with the CEO, and you could break him away long enough from his phone to have that conversation, what exactly would I say? And
Mm.
complete transparency, I don't know that I could get enough out between the first floor and the 10th floor in order to get that message out. And so I'm as guilty as anybody else of, I need to refine that elevator pitch to that, 20, 25 seconds to be able to say, when he gets off the elevator at the top floor, he can walk away and say, hey, you know what? I need to have one of my directors go and find that dude and bring him into a meeting because we can do better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
So,
Again, yeah, it's, we've not done very good marketing what we do.
no.
And that, the ROI on what we do is tremendous.
Massive. Well, and that's, you bring up the term ROI. You go into meetings with engineers or stakeholders, operations, and I had this conversation. In fact, when I was teaching class in your hometown,
Yeah.
I had this conversation with a room full of engineers. It's like, do you want to go into a stakeholder meeting with a, $500,000 ergo project and say to the stakeholders, when they say, what am I going to get for this? It's like, okay, well, you might avoid an injury of an unknown body part with an unknown cost.
Right.
Right. Or do you want to say, I'm going to improve your productivity by, 16 to 18%.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to help you drive up your quality. I'm going to drive down your defects. Okay. Mm-hmm. Which way are you going to take that equation?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And what have we done historically? Historically, we've gone after injury reduction.
Right.
And mathematically, where's the numbers? Where's your ROI going to come from?
How do you calculate what dismissed is? Yeah.
Stop going after the injury reductions and go after the productivity. You and I both know, just based on our years of experience, that the injury improvements are going to happen. It's going to be a win-win scenario. But take that injury reduction out of the equation and give them the return on investment for the productivity gains and the quality gains. Mm-hmm. Now you got a win-win. Yeah, you've got the CFO is happy because he's making more money, and the safety guy is happy because he's got less numbers on his 300 log. Mm-hmm. We're all happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, it's and again, that the boat dragging anchor, and but ROI, if you can talk about process improvements, that's measurable. That's that slides right over into the plus column. So yeah, one of the things we talked about, challenges. Tell us about one of your success stories. You don't have to name names, but
let's come back to the success story. Let me think on that one for a minute, because it's, I will say this. I'll think about it. One of the interesting challenges that I find in the scope of being a consultant, you go out, you see the coolest things on a daily basis. You meet some amazing people, and you make some really cool recommendations. Maybe you get involved in maybe you get involved in the implementation. I would probably say easily 8 or 9 times out of 10, you're not involved in the implementation. Right. You make the recommendations. Client says, man, I love these. And you go a year down the road and you might shoot them an email or make a phone call or text them and say, hey, did you ever implement that? Well, yeah, we did. It's like, dude, you were going to send me pictures and you never did. So right. The real downside is you don't see the implementation. You don't right. get to hear how it went. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here, a real simple one. I was at a client in Dallas, and it's they make implantable medical devices. So really, really tiny assembly type of activities. And they have a welding machine. It's called a fiber welder. So the operators sit and they put a hand inside each side of the fiber welder, and they line things up, and they are looking through a microscope, and they make the welds. Okay. You go to the manufacturer's website for the fiber welder, and you're looking at the stats on the fiber welder, and the underside clearance for the leg is 20 inches on the fiber welder. Okay. So I don't expect everybody to have their anthropometry tables completely memorized, but the knee height of, I think it was like the 20th percentile male. No, it was even lower than that. 5th percentile male, right? A low percentage, whatever the number was, a low percentage of the male population can fit a knee under something 20 inches. Now, this is barefoot, so add a shoe, and that number goes down.
Right.
You go over to the female data table, and the knee clearance of it's like the 5th percentile female can actually fit on this machine. But when you look at the Fiber Welders website, they said this is our best ergonomic design. It's like, really? You can't even fit the legs of your operators under the machine. Okay, so you asked me about a success story. I brought that to the client and said, you got people, and because it's an assembly operation, very fine manipulation. There's a high percentage of female work, assembly population, because they're just better. They got a lot better dexterity.
Yeah.
By and large, all of them are sitting with their legs spread out wide to wrap their knees around this machine in order to sit at it. I went back in a year later, and they were all excited. Come over here, come over here, come over here and look. And they had, it's a clean room operation, right? So they couldn't make changes to the machine. They actually built out of pieces of plastic. They built blocks.
Mhm.
And the blocks had a little recess for the wheels, and they had blocked the thing up so that the operators could, something as simple as get their knees under the station so they didn't have to sit with their legs spread wide out in order to sit at it.
Yeah.
You know, so will I call that a win? Yeah, I'll call that a win. Was it a cheap win? Hell yeah, it was a cheap win because it was simple pieces of plastic
Mhm.
that they just glued together and then created a little cutout to go around the wheel so it wouldn't roll off the top of the blocks.
Mhm.
I mean, how much do you think that cost?
Oh, yeah.
Almost nothing.
Right. Yeah.
I count that as a win.
Yeah. That's definitely goes in the way. And from multiple perspectives, I was going to say, that's a free, cheap, and easy. That,
Exactly.
uh, and so you identified the problem, left it with them, and they had enough, they understood enough of what they needed to do.
Yep.
And that's a huge success. So yeah, but those are the things that make you get up in the morning and go, dang, that was good, and
Well, and Steve, so much of the time I want clients to realize that, we don't come in, and I'll tell them this right in an early stakeholder meeting. My objective is to not come into your plant and give you a 6, 7, or 8, 8-figure project. Because as an industrial engineer, I know that you're in business to make money. You're not in business to, give it all away. That's
yeah.
not the objective. The objective is, how can we do better with what we have?
Mhm.
And if I can give you recommendations that are as simple as, hey, move this thing 6 inches that way so it's within your reach span, so that you're not having to lean to grab that thing. If your cycle time is, you got 10 items a minute, you got a 6-second cycle time, you're going to do this number 10 times
Oh, yeah.
a minute to get that product. And how's your low back going to feel by the time you go home?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
let's not spend any money. Let's just move it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
what's going to happen to, maybe you don't even do anything to the cycle time because the operator's still doing the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
but they're doing it in a better posture. What happens to them at the end of the day? They go home, they're happier. You improve their job satisfaction. So maybe you improve their retention, because what does it cost to replace an employee? Anywhere from 1.5 to 2 times their salary if they leave.
Yeah.
Okay. Even if it's an assembly operator that's only taken home, let's throw a number, 50,000 a year. You want to spend 75 to 100 to replace them?
Yeah, and that measure, that's a direct measure. The other thing we see is an increase in scrap and rework with,
Yep.
and the probability of a new employee having an injury or illness
Right.
is right up there. So yeah, you're exactly right. And you led nothing up my sleeve, but you led literally into my next question. We are facing every 8 seconds, a boomer hits retirement age, 10,600 a day. And I don't know that companies understand the magnitude of what's happening because there's not this huge pool of employees coming along behind them. Plus, we're losing the knowledge. We're losing. So, what do you? I'm curious at that. What are you seeing out there? What are you seeing employers do? Their level of awareness.
There,
I'm on the stump about it. I'm always standing up saying, we got to act now. 2031's magic. We're all
right?
gone. All the boomers, it's just math. And
And Steve, I would even challenge that is 2030 going to be the end? Because I think what we're seeing, especially post COVID,
mhm,
people are making a decision to work longer and
mhm,
longer and longer, right?
mhm.
So yeah, 2030 might be that magic number where the majority of the baby boomers are out of the workplace, and now you're starting to get into into the older
Geriatric.
older Gen Xers,
Yeah.
you know, gonna get to that point where it's like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, but either I have to because of economic reasons, or I want to because I had a conversation with a buddy today. Hadn't talked to him in, oh God, I kid you not, I probably hadn't talked to Matt in 25 years, and he's a little bit younger than I am, but he said, I want to keep working just to keep myself sharp. I don't want to, go into retirement and just look forward to the next
Mhm.
fishing trip. I mean, who doesn't enjoy the next fishing trip? But got to have something to keep yourself rolling and active and sharp. I think there's plenty of data out there showing us that you wind up sitting on your rear end and become inactive, and that's got all kinds of negative consequences, not only physically but mentally, cognitively. And do you want to go
Yeah.
down that path? I don't.
Yeah. And if you look at where we're at as a society in the United States, if you want to know what that's going to look like, look at Japan.
Yeah,
Japan,
right.
they've got a retirement rate that's huge. And so they're actually building out jobs for people in their 70s and 80s to go in and write code. They're,
Yeah.
so they we don't have to reinvent the wheel, but just getting the message out because the reality is there's going to be companies go out of business.
Yeah.
If you don't have employees, you can't automate, and AI is not gonna, it's not gonna solve it all. It's
No, AI is not going to solve it all, at least not fast enough.
right.
And companies in the US aren't adopting robotics at the same rate that you're seeing in Asia. I mean,
Exactly.
the adoption rate overseas is phenomenal.
Mhm.
And you don't have to look too terribly far to see it.
Yeah.
My wife will, hey, look at this, simple YouTube video, and she was showing me one today before we jumped on. It was in the food service industry in Japan.
Mhm.
They are automating the food. I mean, what's the right part? Roboticizing, if you will, if you want to term that make that into a term.
Mhm.
Uh, the food prep.
Yeah.
Food prep is becoming highly robotic
Mhm.
because, to your point, they don't have the people to replace them, and we're we're right on their heels.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Absolutely.
literally are on their heels. I came from a couple of weeks ago. I was in Denver at a plant that makes uh, stone products. The that you put on your home, the fake stone
All right.
that looks so freaking real. Oh my God, it was cool to go in and see. The older people in those that are on some of those lines
Mhm.
handling stone products all day long. I thought to myself, oh my God,
Mhm.
I cannot imagine. I can't imagine being my age and literally handling stone products all day long. And I've been involved in countless um, carpentry type renovation projects because I love that hands-on portion. But you put me on a couple of days worth of carpentry, and I come away from that with my hands all messed up, and I know it's cute and it'll go away and pop the Tylenol and take it easy for a little while. Uh,
Mhm.
but if I was doing it every day, that would no longer be an acute issue. That'd be a chronic issue. And
Yeah.
I can't,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
can't imagine it.
And I think that, I'm not sure that we're the only ones who need to be getting the word out, but from a demographics perspective, companies need to understand, what's happening in time and space. People are leaving,
Yep.
and a lot of it comes. That's another. We could talk about culture forever, but if you got the companies that have got the right culture, that care for their people, and the people know it, they're going to flock to them, and they're going to have choices. And the companies that don't have that in place, it's
I
it
know
good.
there was a period, and it was kind of the dot-com boom in California. Saw it. The California companies, when they were really hitting hard trying to bring in their tech workers,
Mhm.
they could bring in. Uh, they used the strategy in some places where they would, install the ergo chairs, install the ergo keyboards, the ergo mic, call them, and to tack the word ergo onto any of those is a misnomer because it's a product. Is it an ergonomic product? That's
Yeah, I hear
the,
you.
yeah. But they could sit there and say, hey, yeah, here's a coding job on the north side of the street, coding job on the south side of the street. Same coding job, but over here, you've got adjustable workstations, ergo chairs, good quality keyboards, good quality mice. The displays are on monitor arms. Where do you want to work? I could work over here for the same money at a fixed station with a crappy chair, or over here with, and they were attracting people to walk across the street for the,
Yeah,
you know, that,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
well, it's
that's
California.
yeah. We're gonna see it more. I mean, that's just a reality. So, moving along just a little bit. So you talked a little bit about younger people getting in the profession, or we desperately need that. The what do you so if you decide what Tom Rowell's professional legacy is going to be, what would you want that to be? What?
You know, I think two things come to mind with a professional legacy. Uh, One was he was honest. He was honest and ethical.
Mhm.
And I've had this conversation with a number of people, all the way down to the point of, hey, if you've got a client that's here in my hometown, I will absolutely not approach them
Sure,
because they're your client.
absolutely.
I believe in professional ethics. I believe in transparency. Um, so I kind of hope that some of my personal legacy is that people look at me and think, he was an upright and honest guy. He didn't backstab. He didn't, lie and cheat his way through
Mhm.
things. The other thing I would hope that I kind of leave behind when I leave the profession is that, he did everything he could to make the workplace better for workers. I think that's what I kind of hope for in my rearview mirror. Um, I
Well,
hope
I'll tell you. Go ahead. I'm
no,
sorry.
that's kind of what I hope people think of me in the end.
Yeah, and you know what? That's your reputation right now. The people that I know that are in the profession that know you, they trust you, and that's what you're talking about as far as that ethics and honesty, and so you're
And
well on the way.
I,
uh,
I do like to think that if I talk to somebody and I'm not the right fit for
Mhm.
them, that I'll be honest
Mhm.
and say, hey, you know, um, and that maybe I know somebody that I can connect you with that can either do a better job or is a better fit for you.
Mhm.
And do I want anything in return for it? No,
No. Yeah.
um, because I do believe that somewhere down the road, karma will come back and reward me. It doesn't have. I'm very seldom am I out there looking for that. Hey, I gave you something, give me something back. That's
Yeah.
just, to me, that's not that's a stressful way to live, I think.
Oh, it is. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. If if your sole motivation is to get something out of it, that the thing about it is it's kind of that paying it forward too. I've
Yeah.
had so many people that have helped me down the road personally, and nobody's ever said, give me this, give me that. All they say is pay it forward.
Mhm.
And I can deal with that,
Yeah,
and I get to do that sometimes.
I
I
think
have,
we need more of that too. I think we need
yeah,
more of that.
yeah.
And going back to why did you get into ergonomics? I do think that if I do my job well, I do my job right, I can make that improvement for somebody.
Mhm.
And maybe it's only that one body. Maybe it's not the greater enterprise, but that one person goes home at the end of the day and said, "Hey, that dude listened to me. He heard my problem. He gave it some thought, and he gave
Care.
it his best shot to
Mhm.
help me." And ultimately, at the end of that, is like it's up to me to take his suggestions and try to work on them. Right? Um, you can lead the horse to water. You can't always make them drink.
Mhm. All right. That's one last thing.
Yes, sir.
Uh, do you have a favorite charity? Something that floats to the top for you? We'll put it out there. We'll put the web address in your marquee when we publish this, and uh
Favorite charity. You know, I we I say we collectively, my wife and I try to be, charitable. This is that, and this is that time of giving. Um, there's for example, there's a girl that lives just down the road from us that um, she'll she has been involved in a number of things over the years that we have donated to that she's been involved with. So is it really a charity that we resonate with as much as it is it's the charitable mindset? I got to think about that because I guess in my mind I look for where can I contribute wherever I am at that time.
yeah.
Um, Veterans, I have a kind of a big spot in, and I'm not a veteran, but
Mhm.
uh, if you were to really kind of hold me to the fire and say, where would you donate to? I would probably, that would, that would bubble up to the top,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, because you know what, freedom ain't free.
No, no.
And again, there's people put their lives on the line every day. So
uh,
yeah, we'll put that in there. But man, it's been great talking to you. I talk to you every time I get a chance. And
Steve, I have enjoyed this opportunity to chat. I always enjoy the opportunities that you and I have, whether we're both driving down the road, catching up, or here on the podcast. So
yeah.
always great to hang out with you.
Yeah, you too. And you know what, we'll have you back. Congratulations to the BCPE. They made a great decision to bring you on board, and I think that's what I said. I posted that when they posted that you were a new board member, and I mean that sincerely.
Appreciate that.
It's a great organization, and you're definitely representative of the quality people. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign off, and we will chat later. And man, I sure appreciate your time and your sharing your passion with us.
Enjoyed it tremendously, Steve. I look forward to hanging out with you, hopefully sometime soon in person.
Yep. Well, I'm coming to Texas, so I'll
Awesome.
see you there. All right. Thank you, man.